the end of the table to Rich Kelly. Talk a little bit about, as opposed to from the publishing side, how shows like Interbike and OR are trying to respond directly to the consumers first and set up programs that attract them that way.
Well, I mean, you brought up consumer. I wasn't expecting that, but I have to say that during the week of Interbike this last year, that happens at the end of September, a friend of one of our operations teams sent her an email with a screenshot from her myyahoo.com login page. And they've got the news, the celebrity gossip, and they have a little box up in the corner that says, what are the top searches on Yahoo right now? And Interbike was number 8 on Yahoo. And it was a trade show. I mean, this is the interest that people have in bikes, and it's probably very similar on the OR side. It's a very passionate audience that we serve, and I think maybe that's saving grace for a lot of the media companies in ORs, industries and markets, and in Interbike we serve very passionate, focused, markets, not general interests like Fox News or New York Times, two very visible big media companies that are struggling now. But taking back to Drew's question, one of my favorite quotes in this topic, happened maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago now at this point, when Nike launched their iPod interface. And one VP at Nike had said something like, "Hey, we're not in the business of keeping media companies alive, keeping them in business. We're in the business of talking to our customers, so if we could do that ourselves better," because they're talking about an online community that they had created, then we'll do that. I think the old model of having to rely on sending press releases out to magazines or to media companies and having them disperse it, now you can do it directly, or there's some passionate enthusiast who's doing it himself. When I sat down here first and introduced myself to Dustin, never met him before, and he said, "Hey, I really enjoyed that podcast you're on, that cycling podcast." I'm like, you feel like this mini celebrity of this podcast that I do with someone who's not in the bike industry. He works in the industrial washing machine business as his day job, but he records 2 podcasts out of his bedroom, one solo and one he does a little round table with some people from the industries. He gets 80,000 downloads of his podcast per month via iTunes. And I've run into a lot of people like Dustin that say, "Hey, I heard that," or "I listened to that." And what impact is that having? There's so many different avenues, to getting the news and passionate, the audience out there. Because even though we're at a trade show, really we're all trying to speak to that, end consumer, I think, ultimately, and influence. And I know at Interbike, the presence of the media is very important, not necessarily to speak to the retailers, but to get it out to the end users and get them excited about, what's going to be appearing in the stores, upcoming. So, there's so many different ways to get your message and your communication directly out to your audience and the end users. And we definitely welcome new media at Interbike because they're incredibly passionate, very active. To see the media center that we have on the floor of the show with upwards of 25 people sitting at laptops recording podcasts, uploading videos, streaming out photos. It's really, it's an exciting time. I know for people in the media that make their business off the media, it's very disconcerting right now, but there's a lot of opportunities right now. And there's a lot of talk in the media world about Fox News blocking Google and getting very upset at Google for linking and sending people their way. And Google's response was like, "Hey, we send you we send the media world 5 billion eyeballs a month," or something like that. I forget what the time period was. It's your fault for not engaging them and doing something with them once they get there. So I think it's really up on the media to really think about what they do, how they can best serve their markets and their communities. But it's not that less people are consuming media right now, it's just in a different way. So we just need to...
Right. It's interesting, there's a lot of comments about plenty of media pundits out there, and whether it's social media, traditional media, digital media, new media, old media, there is this feeling that eventually we're just going to drop that prefix and we'll just refer to it all as media. One word that comes up a lot is this concept of corporate media, where companies and individuals themselves are becoming content producers. And one very visible example of that in our industry is Backcountry.com, an online retailer who has been creating both engaging editorial blog type comments, but also engaging in some interesting community initiatives. And Dustin, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
For sure. I just wanted to comment on the fact that media, how we buy it as a marketer has totally changed. John, you recognize that? So I have I think we'll probably spent like $15 million on advertising this past year. Not a single piece of it was offline. So we go for ROI, customer engagement. That's what we're going to buy, and it's really tough on a piece of paper. Yeah, the community we built is, again, just focused on letting the customers have a voice, trying to get the truth about our passion. So ours is all about gear. People aren't really talking about the trips they took. It's really focused on the gear. And we built the tools so the community can talk about it, interact with themselves, and then what is actually happening is the truth about the gear is coming out. So if you make a bad product, unfortunately, backcountry, the community is going to expose that. It won't sell very well. We won't order it again. But for the most part, the products are killer, and the customers are way psyched about it. And the interaction we get is beating all of our expectations. So it's been super fun.
Which is an interesting point. I mean, backcountry.com, obviously, as a retailer, the type of media that they're obviously most engaged with is gear-specific content. And I think that as we talk about media, especially in the outdoor industry, there's a big question: what is the role of media in the outdoor industry? Is it just to sell gear, or are we also selling experiences?